The small cul-de-sac had always carried an air of calm. Rows of houses stood side by side with trimmed lawns, low fences, and neat gardens. The people who lived there often exchanged greetings in the morning, shared cups of tea on porches, and looked after each other's homes when someone was away. For Anna, this was exactly the kind of place she had always wanted. She liked how children could ride bicycles around without fear, how neighbors smiled, and how the streets were quiet in the evenings. She liked knowing that her husband, Tom, who had once lived a life of strict schedules and constant deployments, could now enjoy simple peace. Tom had spent many years serving in the Navy. During that time, he had learned discipline, patience, and the value of calm in dangerous moments. When he finally left the service, he wanted a life where mornings began with coffee at the kitchen table instead of loud alarms, and evenings ended with laughter instead of orders. He found that life here in this cul-de-sac with Anna. Together, they planted flowers along the fence, fixed small things in the yard, and slowly built a rhythm of peace. That Saturday morning felt like every other. The sun was warm but not harsh, the air light with the smell of fresh-cut grass. Birds sang from tree branches while neighbors tended to their own chores. Tom was in the garage fixing a loose handle on his old toolbox. Anna stepped out with a smile to gather the mail. Her hair was tied back and she carried a small potted plant that she planned to place near the porch. It was a quiet, ordinary moment, until two men appeared at the end of the driveway. The men wore plain shirts and dark caps. Each had something shiny clipped to his belt, resembling a badge, though not polished or official-looking. They walked with purpose, as if they belonged there, as if their presence required no question. One of them raised a hand and said in a flat, confident voice, "We are here on business related to the Homeowners Association." Anna paused. She tilted her head, uncertain. The tone was firm, almost demanding, not like the usual friendly approach of neighbors or board members she knew. She asked politely, "May I see your identification?" The men exchanged a glance. One of them pulled at the cheap-looking badge, holding it out quickly, then tucking it back before she could read any details. "We are enforcing new rules for the properties here," the first man continued. "We need access to check a few things." Anna frowned. The words did not make sense. The Homeowners Association, while sometimes strict, had never sent anyone unannounced. She had attended meetings. She knew the names of the board members. These men were strangers. She stepped back slightly, her grip tightening on the small plant. "I think you should speak with my husband," she said, trying to remain calm. Instead of waiting, one of the men stepped closer. His presence felt heavy, almost pressing. He repeated, "We have authority here. You need to cooperate." The tone was not just firm now. It was sharp, almost like a warning. Across the street, a neighbor glanced over his fence, sensing the tension. But Anna felt alone at that moment, standing at the edge of her driveway with two men who spoke of rules but carried no respect. Her heart began to beat faster. She repeated firmly, "Please show me proper identification." The second man shifted uneasily and muttered something under his breath. Then he leaned forward as if to intimidate. "We don't need to answer your questions," he said. "We are doing our job. If you do not comply, there will be consequences." Before Anna could respond, Tom stepped out of the garage. He carried his toolbox in one hand, unaware at first of the situation. Then his eyes landed on Anna, standing tense with the men far too close to her. He set the toolbox down quietly on the ground and straightened. The years of service had given him more than physical strength. They had given him awareness, the ability to read small details in body language and tone. In the short time it took to walk across the yard, Tom saw everything he needed. The men's caps were not official. Their badges were poorly made, not engraved or issued. Their stance was wrong for professionals. One man's hand kept moving near his hip, not to touch a radio but to hold his wallet like a prop. Their words carried no consistency. They were not officers. They were imposters. Tom's voice was steady as he asked, "Who exactly are you?" The men looked at him, their confidence wavering for a second. One of them tried to recover, saying, "We told your wife we are here on official business for the Homeowners Association." "Then you can show me official papers," Tom said firmly. "Not a badge from a store. Show me a letter, a notice or identification with names and numbers." His tone carried quiet authority. Not loud but unshakable, the imposter shifted uneasily. But instead of retreating, they doubled down. The first man took a step closer toward Anna. His shoulder brushed hers lightly, not in a violent strike, but enough to make her stumble back a step. Tom saw her face tighten with discomfort, and that single gesture changed everything. "Do not touch her again," Tom warned. His words were calm, not shouted, but they held a weight that filled the air. The man laughed as if dismissing him, but his laugh was hollow. "You think you can stop us?" he said, his tone sharp. Tom stepped forward, his body a shield between Anna and the two men. He kept his voice even, but his eyes never left theirs. "Leave this property now. You have no authority here. The police will be called if you do not leave." The impostors exchanged a glance. They had expected fear, hesitation, maybe compliance. What they found was resistance, steady and calm, backed by someone who did not flinch. For a brief moment, their act slipped. The neighbor across the street was still watching. A curtain moved in the house next door. Witnesses were gathering silently. Anna, her heart racing, reached for her phone in her pocket. She unlocked it with trembling hands, ready to call for help. She knew the situation was not over yet. The imposters were not retreating. They were testing the limits, pushing forward as though hoping Tom would back down. Tom's posture remained still, controlled, but ready. Years of training had taught him not to move first unless absolutely necessary. His instincts told him that things could turn physical any second. He kept Anna behind him, his stance wide, prepared to block any sudden advance. The imposters began speaking again, their words overlapping, trying to sound official, but their tone betrayed them. One threatened fines, the other mentioned legal trouble, but their voices wavered, their rhythm broken. They were grasping for control they no longer had. Anna lifted her phone and began recording. Her voice, though shaky, spoke with clarity. "I am filming this for evidence. Please state your names and official position." The men froze for a second, their faces flickering with uncertainty. They had not expected someone to record them. They shifted on their feet, suddenly less confident. But pride kept them from leaving. They stood their ground, though their words grew harsher. Tom, standing tall in the driveway, understood something clearly. This was not just about his house anymore. These men were part of something larger. They had chosen this neighborhood as a target, moving from house to house with fake authority. If not stopped, they would find another family, another person alone at home, and push even harder. The moment stretched. The imposters hovered close, voices sharp, Anna recording, neighbors watching. Tom's calm presence was the only thing holding the situation in balance. He knew one wrong move could tip it either way. And then one of the imposters shifted his weight forward, his hand brushing too close toward Anna again. That was the moment Tom decided he would not allow a second mistake. The quiet cul-de-sac that had always carried an air of peace was no longer quiet. It had become the stage for a confrontation that would soon shake the neighborhood. Awake. Tom's eyes narrowed slightly as he watched the men hover too close to Anna. Every instinct he had, learned in the Navy, told him that hesitation now could allow the situation to escalate in unpredictable ways. The men were pretending to be officers, but their actions betrayed them. Their cheap badges, fake confidence, and the way they mirrored each other like actors in a poorly written play made Tom's mind race with possibilities. He knew he had to act, but he also knew that unnecessary force could make things worse. Anna's hands trembled slightly as she held her phone, recording every movement. She could feel the tension in the air, thick and heavy. Her voice, though steady as she announced she was filming, carried a hint of fear she could not completely hide. The imposters had not expected her to be prepared. Their eyes flicked toward her, trying to gauge how serious she was. When Anna held the phone higher and said she would call the police if they did not leave, one of the men muttered something under his breath. Tom took a slow, measured step forward, his body slightly angled to place himself between Anna and the intruders. He raised his hands in a way that was not threatening but showed readiness. His tone was calm, firm, and unshakable. "Step back," he said. "You have no authority here. Identify yourselves properly or leave this property immediately." The first man laughed, a low, hollow sound that did not reach his eyes. "We are here to enforce the rules," he said, his voice sharp but slightly uncertain. "You think you can stop us?" Tom did not respond with words. Instead, he subtly adjusted his stance, keeping a wide base and lowering his center of gravity. His movements were deliberate and controlled. He knew that if these men attempted any physical act against Anna, he would have to act instantly to protect her. The second man, noticing the first man's hesitation, took a step forward and shoved Anna's shoulder lightly. It was not enough to hurt her, but enough to make her stumble backward. Her breath caught and a flicker of panic crossed her eyes. Tom's jaw tightened. The moment had arrived. He moved with the calm precision of a man who had trained for high-pressure situations his entire life. He stepped between Anna and the two men, placing one hand lightly on the first man's chest, while keeping the other ready to intercept any sudden move. "Do not touch her again," he said firmly, his voice carrying authority without aggression. The first man smirked, trying to regain his confidence. "You are only one man," he said. "You cannot stop both of us." Tom's eyes scanned their posture, their weight distribution, and their tiny shifts in balance. In a matter of seconds, he had already planned the next moves. He did not panic. He did not raise his voice. Instead, he relied on the years of discipline that had taught him to stay calm in moments of danger. The second man lunged suddenly, perhaps hoping to catch Tom off guard. Tom grabbed his wrist in a precise motion, twisting it slightly to redirect the man's energy. The man yelped in surprise as he stumbled forward. Tom guided him to the ground, using minimal force to prevent injury while keeping control. The first man moved quickly toward Anna again, perhaps thinking Tom was now occupied. Tom reacted instantly, stepping sideways and using a controlled hold to pin him against the grass. The men were no match for someone who had spent years mastering discipline, balance, and strength. Anna continued filming, her hands steady despite her racing heart. She captured every moment, the imposters' fake badges, their cheap caps, their shoves, and Tom's controlled movements. Each second on the screen showed not just the confrontation, but also the calm precision with which Tom handled the situation. Neighbors began to notice the commotion. A few stepped out of their houses, peering over fences and doors. Cars slowed as drivers passed by. The imposters, who had expected compliance and fear, now found themselves surrounded by witnesses. Their confidence began to crumble. Tom's movements were smooth, deliberate, and controlled. He did not strike unnecessarily. He did not shout. He simply used his body and skill to neutralize the threat. The imposters flailed briefly, trying to pull free, but Tom's balance and control held them firmly. One tried to reach for something in his jacket, but Tom's hand intercepted it, twisting the arm and bringing it down safely. Whatever the man intended, it was now impossible. "Call the police," Tom said calmly to Anna. She did, speaking to the operator with clear details of their location, the description of the men, and the situation. She continued filming, capturing the sounds of their heavy breaths, the rustle of grass as the men struggled, and the quiet authority in Tom's voice. The imposters were now fully aware that their plan had failed. They were no longer in control. The momentary fear that had once worked in their favor had evaporated, replaced by uncertainty and panic. They could see witnesses on the street. They could hear the faint sound of sirens in the distance, signaling that help was coming. Despite their attempts at aggression, Tom maintained calm. He shifted slightly, ensuring Anna was safely behind him. He adjusted the hold on the first man, keeping it firm but not harmful. He blocked the second man's movements without striking, guiding him to remain on the ground. Every motion was precise, controlled, and purposeful. Anna's filming captured everything. She documented the fake badges, the men's statements, and their attempts to intimidate. Her hands did not shake now. They were steady with purpose. She understood that evidence was more powerful than confrontation. She knew that by recording she was helping not just herself and Tom, but also the neighborhood and anyone else who might fall victim to these imposters. Within minutes, the real police arrived. Patrol cars pulled up, lights flashing, and officers quickly assessed the situation. They separated the parties, asking questions and ensuring safety. Anna handed over her phone with the video, and the officers watched in interest as the events unfolded on the screen. The imposters tried to lie, but their words were easily contradicted by the video. The officers checked their pockets, discovering fake badges, forged letters, and other materials intended to give the impression of authority. It became immediately clear that these men had been impersonating officials, targeting houses with false claims. Tom stayed close to Anna, explaining calmly what had happened. He gave details about how the men had approached, how they had acted, and what he had done to protect her. He did not exaggerate. He did not boast. He stated the facts clearly and accurately. Neighbors, now fully gathered around, began to offer statements. Some were angry, having witnessed the boldness of the imposters. Others were grateful that the couple had been unharmed. Word spread quickly about the event, and soon the neighborhood understood the danger they had narrowly avoided. The Homeowners Association Board also became involved. Though they had no connection to the imposters, they acknowledged that the situation had caused fear and confusion. They promised to improve communication, ensuring that any future visits or enforcement would be verifiable and transparent. They also offered to support Anna and Tom for the stress and disturbance caused by the incident. While the police took the imposters away for questioning and arrest, Tom and Anna took a moment to breathe. The tension in their bodies slowly eased, though the adrenaline lingered. Anna held her phone, now a tool of truth and protection. Tom placed a comforting hand on her shoulder, and together they watched as the men were led to patrol cars. The cul-de-sac, once quiet and serene, had been awakened. It had been reminded that danger could appear even in ordinary places. But it had also seen courage, discipline, and calm decisiveness in the face of that danger. Tom and Anna had not sought confrontation. They had not escalated unnecessarily. They had acted with purpose, protecting themselves, their home, and their community. By the evening, the neighborhood had regained a sense of calm. Neighbors exchanged words of relief and admiration. Children rode their bikes a little more carefully, but parents smiled, knowing the adults in the neighborhood were alert. Tom and Anna repaired minor disruptions to their yard, resetting plants and smoothing the grass where the struggle had left marks. The first strike had ended, but the story was far from over. The imposters' network remained a mystery, their intentions partially unknown. Tom understood that vigilance would continue to be necessary, and that preparation and awareness were just as important as any moment of confrontation. Anna and Tom walked to their porch, sitting together as the sun began to lower in the sky. The day had been long, intense, and testing, but it had also strengthened their bond. Anna rested her head on Tom's shoulder, feeling safe, knowing he had been ready and calm. Tom's mind already began considering precautions for the future, ways to ensure their home and neighbors remained protected without unnecessary violence. The cul-de-sac had returned to quiet, but the air was now richer with the knowledge of courage, awareness, and community. Tom and Anna had faced the first threat, managed it with control, and ensured that justice could follow its course through proper channels. They had acted not out of anger, but out of responsibility and love. The neighborhood would remember this day, not as a day of fear, but as a day when calm strength met deception and protected innocence. The first strike was over, and it had ended with safety, order, and a renewed sense of vigilance that would guide the community for years to come. The day after the confrontation, the neighborhood moved cautiously, still buzzing with whispers about what had happened. Tom and Anna woke early, as they often did, but the morning felt different. The air was heavier, carrying a mix of relief, lingering tension, and anticipation. The sun rose slowly, casting soft light on trimmed lawns and flower beds, but it could not fully erase the memory of the two imposters who had threatened their peace just the day before. Tom went to the garage, carrying tools and supplies, but he was distracted. His mind replayed every second of the encounter. Every movement, every choice, every decision he had made to protect Anna passed through his thoughts. He knew instinct and training had guided him, but he also knew that the situation could have gone differently. He checked the locks on the doors and windows, reviewed his plans for emergency communication, and made small notes about what they might do if a similar event occurred. His focus was calm but intense. Anna, meanwhile, reviewed the video she had recorded. She watched closely as the imposters approached, their cheap badges glinting under the morning sun, their voices harsh, their shoves toward her, and her house carefully captured. She noticed small details she had not seen in the moment. The way one of the men adjusted his fake cap when Tom stepped forward, the subtle hesitation in their movements when they realized witnesses were present. She made sure the file was secure, and then she duplicated it for safety. This recording was more than evidence. It was a shield for the neighborhood, proof that deception could be confronted and exposed. By mid-morning, the police returned to follow up. Officers wanted statements, confirmation of the men's belongings, and Anna's video. Tom and Anna cooperated fully, answering questions carefully and calmly. They explained the approach of the imposters, the fake badges, and the threats disguised as rules. They described the exact sequence of events, how the men had blocked the driveway and how Tom had acted to prevent harm. The officers listened attentively, noting every detail. The police officers expressed admiration for how calmly Tom had handled the situation. They noted that while the men were clearly imposters, many people in similar situations might have panicked or acted recklessly, potentially creating more danger. Tom's ability to neutralize the threat without unnecessary force had prevented injury and allowed the law to take over. Anna's recording provided a clear record of the incident. The officers commented that such evidence would be crucial for prosecution. After the statements were taken, Tom and Anna returned to their home. They moved carefully, restoring minor disruptions to their garden and porch where the confrontation had left traces. A few neighbors approached, offering help, food, and kind words. Many wanted to hear the story directly from them. Tom and Anna recounted the events calmly, emphasizing caution, awareness, and the importance of documentation. The couple's demeanor reassured neighbors, showing that vigilance and preparation were more important than fear. Word of the imposters began spreading beyond the cul-de-sac. Local news outlets reached out seeking information. Tom requested that the focus remain on safety and the importance of verifying identity, rather than on his past service or physical ability. Anna emphasized the role of the video and careful observation. Together, they became an example of how ordinary people could respond effectively to deception without escalating unnecessary conflict. Meanwhile, the Homeowners Association called an emergency meeting. Board members admitted that while they had no involvement with the imposters, their name had been used to intimidate residents. They committed to improving communication with homeowners and providing clear instructions for any official visit or enforcement action. The board recognized that trust could easily be shaken, and they wanted to restore it. They also promised support for Tom and Anna, offering resources for legal assistance and counseling if needed. Tom and Anna's focus shifted to the larger picture. The imposters were not isolated in their actions. The materials found on them suggested a network that targeted multiple neighborhoods. Fake badges, forged letters, and detailed lists of properties indicated planning and coordination. Tom began reviewing safety measures, advising neighbors on how to verify identities, what signs to watch for, and how to document any suspicious behavior. Anna organized a community group to share information and provide support. The cul-de-sac, once quiet and private, now became a hub for education and vigilance. Several days later, the police called to inform them that the imposters had confessed to attempts at fraud and impersonation. The men had admitted to targeting homes with no prior contact, using the guise of authority to scare residents into compliance. The charges were serious: impersonating officials, attempted theft, and harassment. Tom and Anna felt a quiet relief. The law would handle the consequences, and the neighborhood would be safer as a result. The couple spent the following week restoring a sense of normalcy. Anna planted new flowers where the scuffle had disturbed the soil. Tom repaired the small dent in the fence caused when the men were forced to the ground. Each act was quiet but meaningful, a symbol of resilience and recovery. Every small repair reminded them that strength was not just in confronting danger, but in rebuilding after it passed. Neighbors began to adopt new habits inspired by Tom and Anna. People installed cameras, exchanged contact numbers, and agreed to report any suspicious activity. The community developed a collective sense of responsibility. No longer relying solely on the idea of safety as passive, the cul-de-sac became not just a place of quiet living, but a place of awareness, preparedness, and mutual support. Tom also reflected on his own reactions during the incident. He recognized the importance of restraint, even in the face of aggression. His training had taught him how to control situations physically, but the true lesson had been in knowing when to act, and how to protect without unnecessary escalation. He discussed these lessons with Anna, who emphasized the value of evidence and communication. Together, they created a small guide for neighbors on how to handle similar situations safely. Meanwhile, the police continued their investigation, using Anna's video and the imposter's confessions to track other targets. They discovered that the men had operated in several nearby neighborhoods, preying on fear and uncertainty. Each case opened new paths for victims to come forward. The presence of Tom and Anna's evidence encouraged others to speak up, creating a ripple effect of awareness and accountability. The incident also brought unexpected attention to the importance of homeowner education. Tom and Anna were invited to speak at a local meeting about personal safety, recognizing imposters, and using calm judgment to protect oneself and the community. They shared practical tips: how to verify badges, how to document suspicious behavior, and how to remain calm under pressure. Their experience became a lesson for many who might have otherwise felt powerless in the face of deception. As the week turned into a month, life began to settle. The cul-de-sac returned to its familiar quiet, children riding bikes and neighbors chatting over fences. But the memory of the imposters lingered in a different way. It was no longer fear, but awareness. People moved with caution, but also with confidence, knowing they had learned how to protect themselves and their neighbors. Tom and Anna found strength in the routine of ordinary life. Mornings with coffee, afternoons tending to the garden, and evenings on the porch became moments of reflection and gratitude. They were grateful for each other, for their safety, and for the chance to turn a threatening encounter into an opportunity to strengthen their community. Their relationship deepened through shared experience. Anna appreciated Tom's calm decisiveness, and Tom appreciated Anna's presence and foresight. They realized that protection was not just physical. It was emotional, strategic, and collaborative. Each choice they made reinforced the bond between them and strengthened the community around them. Neighbors began to tell the story quietly, emphasizing lessons learned rather than fear. They spoke of the couple who stood firm, who used knowledge, training, and calm courage to confront deception. They told how Anna's quick thinking had provided proof, and how Tom's steady presence had protected both her and the neighborhood. The tale became an example, a story of resilience, vigilance, and the quiet power of preparation. By the end of the month, the imposters were in custody, facing charges that would prevent them from harming anyone else. The police continued their work, tracing the network and ensuring accountability. Tom and Anna continued their lives, quietly proud of the role they had played. Their home was peaceful again, but they remained alert, knowing that vigilance was a continuous choice, not a one-time action. The cul-de-sac had grown stronger through the ordeal. Families talked openly about safety. Children knew to watch for adults they did not recognize. Neighbors exchanged information and remained aware without becoming fearful. The community had transformed from one of simple quiet into one of cautious confidence. Tom and Anna, walking together in the evenings, reflected on the changes. They knew the confrontation had tested them, but it had also revealed their strengths. They had acted decisively, documented evidence, and relied on calm judgment rather than anger. They had demonstrated that ordinary people, with care and preparation, could confront deception and ensure justice followed. The first strike of danger had passed, and the consequences were unfolding. But through every step, Tom and Anna remained steady, showing that courage, awareness, and careful action were more powerful than fear, and that a community united could prevent harm from taking root. The cul-de-sac slept quietly that night, with a sense of restored peace but also a new layer of vigilance. Tom and Anna sat on their porch holding hands, watching streetlights flicker, knowing that they had faced danger together, documented truth, and allowed justice to move forward. Their story was no longer just about fear or threat. It was about action, evidence, and the enduring strength of calm courage. Days passed after the arrests, but Tom's mind remained alert. Even with the imposters in custody, he could not shake the tension from the confrontation. Every morning he checked the locks, inspected the yard, and reviewed safety measures. His training had taught him vigilance, and he knew that preparation was ongoing, not a one-time effort. Anna noticed his quiet focus and encouraged him to take a moment to breathe. She reminded him that the danger had passed and the law was now in control. Despite her reassurance, Tom could not ignore the memory of the men touching Anna. It had been a brief, almost casual shove, yet it had sparked something protective and fierce inside him. He knew he could have reacted differently, acted with more force, or even inflicted damage. But he also understood the importance of restraint. Training had taught him when to act and how to act, but the heart had taught him patience and control. He realized that true strength was not in retaliation but in measured action that protected without unnecessary harm. Anna and Tom spent the morning restoring their home. The scuffle had disturbed flower beds, left dirt on the walkway, and slightly dented the gate. They worked side by side, planting new flowers, smoothing the soil, and fixing the small dent. Each action was quiet and deliberate, a way to reclaim their home, their space, and their sense of peace. As they worked, Anna spoke gently about the importance of allowing the law to handle consequences. She reminded Tom that justice was not about personal revenge, but about ensuring that wrongdoing was corrected and prevented in the future. Later that afternoon, the calm of the neighborhood was interrupted by a commotion down the street. One of the imposter's associates had appeared, shouting angrily and attempting to provoke residents. The man's presence was threatening, but Tom remained composed. He stepped onto the driveway and faced the shouting figure, careful to maintain a safe distance. He did not raise his voice, did not make threats, and did not engage in physical confrontation. Instead, he observed, recorded, and waited. Anna captured the encounter on her phone, documenting the shouting, the gestures, and the response of both men. Tom spoke calmly to the man, instructing him to leave. The man attempted to escalate verbally, but witnesses had gathered, and the presence of the neighborhood added a layer of accountability. Realizing that his attempt at intimidation would not succeed, the man eventually left. Tom and Anna had acted with restraint, yet effectively protected their home and the community. The event sparked discussions among neighbors. People were curious about the balance Tom had maintained between action and patience. Some expressed surprise that he had not physically confronted the shouting man, but Tom explained that restraint was a strategic choice. Violence could escalate situations unnecessarily, and patience allowed for evidence, law enforcement, and community presence to work together. The lesson was clear. Strength was measured not just by physical ability, but by the control of one's actions. In the following days, the couple focused on community education. Tom shared practical knowledge about recognizing imposters, verifying identity, and using observation to assess threats. He emphasized calm communication and documentation. Anna taught neighbors how to record incidents effectively, store evidence securely, and notify authorities promptly. Together, they helped the community develop confidence and preparedness, transforming fear into informed vigilance. Police continued their investigation, following leads uncovered from the imposter's materials and confessions. Each day, Tom and Anna provided additional details, answered questions, and ensured that the evidence they collected was properly documented. They discovered that the network of imposters had targeted multiple neighborhoods, but their efforts were now slowed due to the arrests and ongoing investigations. The couple realized the broader impact of their actions. By standing firm, documenting events, and cooperating with authorities, they had prevented future crimes. Meanwhile, the cul-de-sac returned to its regular rhythm, but with a heightened sense of awareness. Children played more carefully, parents exchanged greetings with added attentiveness, and neighbors shared updates about unusual activity. The community had transformed subtly but meaningfully. People no longer relied solely on a sense of safety as passive assurance. Instead, they combined vigilance, communication, and mutual support. Tom and Anna were central to this change, modeling the behavior that balanced caution with calm action. Tom reflected on the choices he had made during the confrontations. He realized that his ability to restrain himself, even when anger and protective instinct surged, had prevented unnecessary escalation. By acting deliberately and with control, he had maintained safety, while ensuring that the law could handle the imposters. This understanding deepened his appreciation for patience and strategy, showing him that courage was not always about immediate physical action. Anna continued to support this perspective. She reminded Tom that restraint was a strength, not a weakness. Her calm presence helped him manage the residual tension from the encounters. Together, they established routines that combined vigilance with normal life. Morning walks, home maintenance, and shared meals, all conducted with mindfulness and awareness. Their partnership became a model for balance between protection, patience, and everyday living. The couple also engaged with the police and legal system to monitor the progress of the case. They attended court hearings, provided statements, and offered their video evidence for prosecution. Each step reinforced the principle that proper channels of justice were powerful tools when used correctly. Tom emphasized to neighbors that documentation and cooperation with authorities were as important as physical readiness. Anna added that clear communication and calm assessment of situations allowed communities to respond effectively without escalating danger. Weeks later, the neighborhood experienced a quieter test. Strange vehicles had been observed near nearby streets, and a few unfamiliar individuals had asked questions about residents' routines. Tom and Anna noticed the patterns and immediately shared information with neighbors and local police. Their early detection prevented any potential harassment, demonstrating that ongoing vigilance, when combined with calm and informed action, protected not just one home but an entire community. The couple also devoted time to educating children in the neighborhood. They explained in simple terms how to stay safe, how to recognize strangers, and how to seek help. Tom emphasized awareness and alertness, while Anna highlighted the importance of speaking to trusted adults and documenting unusual events. The children listened attentively, gaining confidence without fear. The neighborhood's younger generation began to understand safety as a shared responsibility, building a foundation for long-term security. Tom and Anna's story gradually became a quiet legend in the community. Neighbors often recounted the events to each other, focusing on lessons rather than fear. They spoke of calm courage, strategic action, and the use of evidence and communication to protect homes and families. The couple never sought recognition, but their actions had strengthened the community's confidence and preparedness. At home, Tom and Anna returned to their routines with mindfulness. Mornings began with shared coffee and quiet conversation. Afternoons were for gardening, repairs, and planning for community meetings. Evenings included walks and reflection, allowing them to appreciate the peace they had helped restore. Each moment reinforced the understanding that safety was ongoing, built on calm awareness, preparation, and the ability to respond thoughtfully to challenges. The imposters' network continued to face legal consequences. The men were prosecuted for impersonation, harassment, and attempted theft. The evidence provided by Tom and Anna played a key role in the judicial process, ensuring that the imposters could no longer threaten families or neighborhoods. The community's confidence grew as justice was seen to function effectively, validating the couple's approach of calm intervention, documentation, and cooperation with authorities. Through these experiences, Tom and Anna discovered a deeper understanding of strength. It was not measured by immediate physical action alone, but by the combination of preparedness, restraint, calm judgment, and strategic communication. Courage was acting when necessary, documenting truth and allowing proper channels to deliver justice. Their actions exemplified how ordinary individuals could protect themselves, their loved ones, and their community while maintaining composure and integrity. The cul-de-sac, once a place of quiet routine, had transformed into a community of awareness, resilience, and careful vigilance. Neighbors looked out for one another, communicated openly, and supported each other in maintaining safety. Tom and Anna remained at the center, not as heroes seeking recognition, but as steady examples of calm courage and deliberate action. As the sun set on the fourth week after the confrontation, Tom and Anna sat on their porch watching the warm light fade behind the trees. Children's laughter echoed faintly from the street. Neighbors exchanged quiet greetings, and the neighborhood had returned to a peaceful rhythm. Yet beneath the calm was a deeper understanding of vigilance, preparation, and the importance of measured responses. Anna rested her head on Tom's shoulder. He held her hand lightly, feeling the weight of responsibility ease into pride. They had faced danger, managed it with restraint, and ensured that justice and community would prevail. Their story had become not just about protection, but about the power of calm, patience, and strategic action to create lasting safety and trust. The day ended with quiet reflection. Tom and Anna had learned that real strength was measured not only by force, but by the ability to choose the right moment to act, the wisdom to document truth, and the patience to let justice follow its course. The neighborhood slept peacefully, confident in the knowledge that vigilance and calm courage were guiding the community forward. Months had passed since the incident with the imposters. The cul-de-sac had returned to its quiet rhythm, but it was a different quiet now. Neighbors walked with a careful attentiveness, families spoke openly about safety, and children played with cautious freedom. Tom and Anna had become pillars of calm in the neighborhood, their actions a reminder of the power of vigilance and preparedness. Every day they reinforced the lessons learned from the past confrontation, guiding the community with quiet wisdom. The legal process against the imposters moved steadily. Courts examined the evidence provided by Anna, including the video recordings, and reviewed Tom's detailed statements. The imposter's confessions, along with physical evidence like the fake badges and forged letters, created a strong case. The judge made it clear that impersonation and harassment would not be tolerated. Sentences were given that ensured the men could not threaten any other families. Tom and Anna observed the proceedings carefully, not with desire for revenge but to witness justice in action. Their commitment to proper channels reinforced their belief in restraint, documentation, and the rule of law. With the legal consequences in place, the neighborhood began focusing more on community building. Tom and Anna hosted regular meetings where residents discussed safety measures, how to verify identities, and ways to help one another. They shared their own experiences as examples, emphasizing calm observation, recording details, and contacting authorities instead of confronting unknown threats physically, unless absolutely necessary. These meetings were practical and reassuring, giving residents confidence in their ability to protect themselves and their homes. The couple also encouraged a neighborhood watch system. Residents volunteered in pairs or small groups to patrol streets at different times of day. Each volunteer had clear instructions: observe quietly, document anything unusual, and contact authorities if needed. Tom trained the volunteers on basic situational awareness, teaching them to recognize suspicious behavior and assess potential danger without panic. Anna organized information sessions, providing guidance on using phones and cameras to document events safely. The neighborhood began to feel stronger, connected and prepared, not because of fear, but because of unity and shared responsibility. Tom and Anna continued their daily routines, tending the yard, maintaining their home, and walking in the evenings. Their life remained simple, but it carried a quiet confidence that came from knowing they had faced danger and helped ensure the safety of their community. Each day, small acts, watering flowers, fixing fences, greeting neighbors, reinforced the calm stability they had worked to preserve. One afternoon, a neighbor approached them with concern. A stranger had been seen near the edge of the cul-de-sac, asking about residents and their schedules. Anna immediately suggested documenting the situation, while Tom calmly observed the individual from a distance. Together, they ensured the neighbor called the local police to report the stranger. Within an hour, officers had responded, checked the area, and confirmed that the person posed no immediate threat. Their response demonstrated the value of vigilance, coordination, and calm action, proving to the community that preparedness was more effective than fear. Children in the neighborhood were also learning from Tom and Anna's example. They practiced awareness without anxiety, understanding that they could speak up and reach out for help if something seemed unusual. Tom spoke to them about safety in simple terms, encouraging observation, calm thinking, and action through trusted adults. Anna emphasized communication and evidence, teaching children that their voices mattered and that they could contribute to the safety of their community. This approach strengthened the neighborhood's resilience for the future, building confidence among both adults and children. The Homeowners Association also took steps to improve trust. They implemented clear procedures for official visits, distributed verified contact lists, and held informational sessions to explain rules and expectations. The imposter's use of the HOA's name had shaken confidence, but transparency and communication gradually restored trust. Tom and Anna supported these efforts, understanding that clear information and responsible leadership prevented fear and confusion. Throughout these months, Tom reflected on his own growth. He understood that restraint had been as important as action during the confrontations. Choosing when to act, maintaining calm, and allowing law enforcement to take its course had prevented unnecessary harm. The experience reinforced his belief that courage was not just in physical strength, but in strategic thinking, patience, and measured response. He shared these insights with neighbors during meetings, quietly mentoring them in calm courage. Anna found strength in documenting, communicating, and organizing the neighborhood. Her careful observations had helped secure evidence that ensured justice. She realized that protection was not only physical, but also intellectual and organizational. By teaching others to observe, record, and report, she empowered the community to act collectively. Her calm presence complemented Tom's training and decisiveness, creating a partnership that served the neighborhood beyond the immediate threat. As the neighborhood regained stability, the cul-de-sac became a model for nearby communities. Stories of Tom and Anna's actions spread, not as tales of heroism, but as lessons in vigilance, preparedness, and community support. Other neighborhoods sought guidance on safety measures, neighborhood watches, and documenting potential threats. The couple's approach, calm action, evidence-based protection, and reliance on law enforcement became a blueprint for peaceful, effective self-protection. Life returned to routine, but with a quiet vigilance. Tom and Anna continued their morning walks, checking on neighbors, sharing advice, and maintaining their home. Children played safely in the streets, families exchanged greetings and information, and neighbors remained attentive without panic. The community had shifted from passive safety to active awareness, strengthened by shared experience planning and mutual support. One evening, Tom and Anna sat on their porch, watching the sun dip behind the trees. The sky glowed with warm colors, and the sounds of children playing and neighbors chatting filled the air. Anna rested her head on Tom's shoulder, and he held her hand lightly. They reflected on the months that had passed, realizing that the confrontation had not only tested them, but also strengthened their community and deepened their bond. Their home, once the stage of tension and danger, had returned to a place of peace and growth. Flowers bloomed where soil had been disturbed, fences were repaired, and the yard reflected the care and attention of its owners. Each small detail symbolized recovery, resilience, and the quiet power of calm, deliberate action. Tom and Anna continued to teach, guide, and protect, but they did so quietly, without seeking attention or recognition. Their strength lay in preparation, vigilance, and community involvement, rather than in displays of force. They understood that true safety was built over time, through shared responsibility, calm courage, and careful action. Months later, the imposters' sentences were finalized. The men faced legal consequences that ensured they could not harm families again. The neighborhood celebrated quietly, knowing that justice had been served. Tom and Anna did not speak loudly of their role, but the residents understood the truth. It was their calm courage, preparedness, and careful action that had prevented harm and guided justice. The cul-de-sac slept peacefully at night, confident in its resilience and the strength of its residents. Tom and Anna continued their routines, tending the garden, walking together, and engaging with neighbors. The community had moved from fear to awareness, from uncertainty to confidence. The experience had not only preserved safety but also created lasting trust and cooperation among residents. In the end, Tom and Anna learned that true strength was measured not by the moments of confrontation alone, but by preparation, calm decision-making, and the ability to work with others to create lasting security. Their story became a quiet legend in the community, a story of courage, vigilance, and the power of calm action to protect what mattered most. Evenings on the porch remained a time for reflection. The couple watched the neighborhood, listened to the sounds of life around them, and felt the satisfaction of a community strengthened through experience. They had faced danger, documented truth, guided justice, and nurtured their neighborhood. Their partnership had grown deeper, their skills more refined, and their home more secure. The cul-de-sac had changed, but in ways that were positive. Safety, trust, and community had replaced fear.